Mulalo Ntsako Mabogo from Vleifontein has released her first book titled 16 Missed Calls. The book deals with issues such as depression and anxiety, as well as gender-based violence. Mabogo grew up in Vhembe, where the issue of mental health was not a topic often discussed and, in fact, was mostly avoided. Mabogo struggled with anxiety problems from a very young age and says her bouts of depression almost sent her to an early grave, and the pressure of being a single mother did not help. Through psychological sessions and prayer, she experienced restoration from within and says with this book, she wants to encourage someone who has experienced the same fate that there is a rainbow after the storm. The author joins us now in studio to tell us more. Very good morning to you, Mulalo. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me as well.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Yes.
Before you get to this discussion, I'm so intrigued by the cover of this book, 16 Missed Calls. I certainly hope that my camera colleague can just show you a picture of the cover. It's so interesting and intriguing.
Thank you
All right,
so much.
so why 16 missed calls though?
Just before I came in, one of your colleagues said that it's very psychotic for me to write the book 16 missed calls. I mean, the title 16 missed calls, which I do understand because everybody's like, why 16 missed calls? Like, that's the first question that I always get. Why 16 missed calls? And 16 missed calls, I'm so nervous.
Don't be.
I'm a bit nervous.
It's just me.
I know it's just you, but yeah. Okay, yeah, 16 missed calls. The reason I titled it 16 missed calls is because of the number of calls I received. Yeah, during a very devastating time, and which, like you said, you mentioned earlier, stress, depression, anxiety.
Yes.
I still have a bit of it now because I'm a bit anxious, but I couldn't call it.
Just talking about it.
Yeah, just talking about it. But though it's also inspired by real life stories and also some of the things that I went through in life. Some is because of the other people next to me. I mean, close people next to me, relatives that all went through in life, and has affected me, and in a very sometimes positive, sometimes negative way.
But how were your issues or your brush with mental health issues a driving force behind writing this book?
My driving force was my son, Ntsako. My name is Mulalo, then I just put Ntsako there, but now everybody calls me Mulalo Ntsako. I just wanted his name to
Ntsako is
be...
a boy's name?
Yeah, it's my boy's
man.
name. But now I call myself Ntsako, and it's like, why did you steal my name? But
How old is he?
He's 13 years old.
Okay.
Yes. So the reason for me, let me just say, the reason I wrote this is because why I penned it down is because I felt like this is the time now. This is the time for me to actually break and talk about what mental health anxiety did to me per se, and how much it actually broke me. Not that I'm broken now, but how much it broke me at that certain stage, and how much depression was like an anthem I was singing every day, because I felt like maybe I had to be like, I felt like I needed to be part of the world, to belong, and I needed validations from everyone. And for me to walk out from that space, it was a journey. I had to unlearn a lot of things. So I felt like, you know what, I just need to write this down as a reminder, and also not only for myself, but also for people that are actually going through this. And some people like me were very, like, it depends on where you were born. It's very difficult for us to talk about what depression does, and you become very vulnerable to everyone. So it becomes a bit challenging to actually voice it out and talk to people about it. But I felt like, you know what, let me be this voice for once. Let me just be this voice and actually tell all single mothers out there, and also single parents, not only mothers, but single parenting, that it can be very difficult, but it can be done.
Now, at what point did you come to the realization to realize that what you're going through is actually anxiety and depression, and not just, your daily life problems?
Okay, it's a bit funny because the time I realized that I actually have it, and I think because of the people around me. Because when I started writing about it, everybody was like, it was like a wake-up call. Like, everybody was like, oh wow, I need to get this, I need to get this. So then I realized that, oh, actually, I'm not actually alone in this. And then I felt like this gave me a boost, because I remember the first time I published the first page, I was so nervous. I didn't even know how to actually talk to the world about it. And my mom, I'm coming from a Venda place, I mean, in Venda. So my mom was like, are you sure you want the world to know this? You know, our parents are like, don't put your dirty line in the public. You know, it's always like that. But I was like, Mom, this one, let me be the mother today, you know. Yeah,
and help other people.
Yeah, and help other people. Just like, no, are you sure? Are you sure? It's like, yes, in Venda. And then, I did it. And then everybody was like, oh, we need to read about this. And I trust and I believe that most people had a lot of healing in it.
Okay.
Yeah, though it's not in a matter of days or hours, but those who have read it, I believe and I trust that they have actually understood now that, you know what, oh, so they are not alone in this. And how did you actually cope? It was like more like a syllabus to them and a memorandum for them, like, okay, no, this is what I can do to actually be better, you know, not like heal completely maybe, but just to be better so that you can have actually better days.
I mean, having grown up in Vhembe, in Venda, where most of these issues are not talking about, especially mental health issues, are not spoken about. In fact, in some instances, in extreme cases, it's taken as a taboo and it's shied away from. So what are some of those challenges in terms of, sharing your story with the rest of the world through this book?
Oh, growing up in Vhembe, it was very beautiful. I won't lie, it's very beautiful. But though we do have, because of cultural beliefs, sometimes it's very difficult for us at home to actually talk about this with our parents, because we didn't really grow up very close with our parents. Okay. Not only me as a child, but a community as a whole. But sometimes we are mothered by our community, we are mothered by our neighbors. True. And some of the neighbors, they share different sentiments, and they also share different ideas of how we can actually accomplish some things. Some of the other things, like they say that we are raised by a community. So it was very difficult for me to actually, talk about it with my mother, with my parents. Even when I felt like from growing up, I was bullied, guys. I was like bullied a lot of times, especially because I couldn't speak English, So I remember at that time, I remember this very well, when my teacher said to me, "Where are you going?" I didn't even know what to say, because I felt like I wanted to say it in Vhembe, but I was not allowed to say it in Vhembe. And I said, "I'm going somewhere." And she said, "Where? Somewhere?" And I said, "Somewhere." You understand? That was the only thing I remember. Shame, but then I felt like, okay, I needed to actually bring myself up, and understand that, what, I can still be validated by myself and not by other people. So I feel like maybe growing up, yes, it was a bit challenging, but I can say that those challenges are some of the things some of the scars that I had in childhood. Those are the scars that made me who I am today as Mulalo.
What has been your saving grace then in terms of dealing with your mental health issues, and how did you highlight them in this book? I mean, how do they find expression in this book in terms of how you were helped or how you got help? I did mention that, you went through a series of sessions and prayers to help you deal with it. So what was your saving grace then? I
think my saving grace was just a phase that says this too shall pass. I think that it was just my saving grace, because I felt like when I looked back now, in every challenges, I feel like, okay, because I passed that other first challenge, I can still pass the second one. So I always I have this too shall pass. That is my saving grace, because I felt like, okay, chapter one, I passed it.
How did you pass those challenges? Did you seek therapy?
Yes, I did. I seek therapy, and it was very difficult for me to seek therapy, because I felt like I have to go to somebody else and tell this person my problems. Will they relate? You understand? Those were my questions. Will they relate? What if they don't relate? What if they look at, what if... Because I'm an analytic, I think too much, like I analyze too much. Every time after the session, I would walk out and I'd be like, I'm sure she's laughing at me. You understand? I'm sure she's busy saying, this one in the stupid problems, this one in a mental problem. Because every time I would feel like that, I always have voices at the back of my head telling me that you're not enough, you understand? Why did you even have to go and seek therapy? True. Other times I would even go to churches, different churches. I grew up in a ZCC family. So it was very difficult for me to go to a ZCC, because in that church, you won't find somebody my age actually doing therapy. It was old people. So I felt like, well, they really understand what I'm going to... Yeah, they'll be like, no, you're working. I mean, you've got food. What's your problem? You understand? So for me, it was one of those things. But anyways, yeah, I think praying was also helpful. I'm not a prayer warrior, but yes, some of the times when I would kneel down and pray, I felt like, sometimes I don't even know what to say. But I believe that, God, you are hearing. You know actually what I want to say. Why don't you just do this thing? You understand? But yeah.
And I suppose, just to cut you short, and I suppose it casts into the spotlight the importance of seeking therapy, of talking and not keeping bottling issues in you. Because I've heard someone ask that, what is the point of going to a psychologist or a therapist? Because you already know what they're going to tell you. They'll tell you, no, everything is fine, you'll be fine, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, the fact that you were talking to somebody else, that's a first step.
Yeah, it's a first step, but it's very challenging. Because the first day you don't know what to say. You don't know what to say. You just say, okay, my name is Mulalo, and then you look at them. It's a bit weird.
It feels weird.
It feels weird the first time you go, okay, my name is Mulalo. Should I tell them everything? Sometimes you want to tell them. The most important thing is that be as vulnerable as you can. Yeah. Because the therapist also needs to be very objective, because otherwise you'll only share a bit of your story and you won't get help, because that's not only there. That's you only sharing a part of your story. And in some instances,
you feel that Yabona, this I'm not going to tell anyone.
Yeah, for the world no one needs to know this one. No one needs to know this one. It's a bit challenging, yeah.
But I love this. I love this story. I love this book. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you so
much. And we
much.
certainly hope that so many people will be healed and get all the necessary, assistance and attention just from reading this. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Great stuff. That was author Mulalo Ntsako Mabogo chatting to us about her new book titled 16 Missed Calls. The book deals with issues such as depression and anxiety, as well as gender-based violence.